Abend. Tada.
Guten Abend.
Hello.
Hello.
Let's start with the person who is here for the very first time, Nick Pantazi. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Nadine, well-known face here on the channel. George, since this month, also a very popular, well-known face here on the
channel. Thank you for having me.
I'm really happy that you join us, as you are at George Borden's channel also a team in a way. You do those live streams usually together, right? You are co-hosts.
Yeah.
And we are really happy that you join us on our monthly recap. Yeah, August is over. Nadine, we have 2 days ago when July was over, right?
Yeah, I think it was June.
Yeah, Christmas was just 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Yeah, winter is coming. Yeah, the days are long, the years fly by. Yeah, I think August was quite worth mentioning. It was quite a surprisingly busy, hectic, and interesting month. And yeah, we just go through it. We share our experiences, our impressions. And Nadine, how are you? You are ready to start this round?
Yes, I'm super ready to start this round.
Okay, good.
I got a new turntable, and yeah, I'm super excited about it. And a friend,
right?
Sorry?
Still, it's exciting for quite some time, right?
Oh yeah, it's exciting for at least 2 years.
At least. And the thing is, a friend came over and we were listening to records, and he said, "Oh, that sounds pretty good." And he borrowed the record, and then he called me later on and said, "On my system, now that I know yours, on my systems it sounds like shitty." So he said, "We can't do this anymore." So I said, "Yeah." So I love this turntable. I never thought I could part with my old one, but I had to, because it was 44 years old, and it was 44 years old constantly in use, and it was
no chance to keep it as a backup. It is now in retirement, in complete retirement, so to say.
I still have it because it's my father's one, so I have an emotional connection to it, but I don't think that I will use it, because now I know the difference. And it's so huge. It's like day and night. I'm listening to records again, and I'm like, oh, wow, I never heard that before. And wow, this sounds pretty good. And even records which were private pressings, which didn't sound so well on my old system, now sounds tremendously well. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, so isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
What was the first record you listened to, Nadine?
Volker Bohlmeier was here when we listened to it, and he said, "I need something funky," and I think we listened to James Brown.
Nice choice.
Yeah, and so what I did also was, this is not a new record, but I've bought this in Vegas last year, and it looks, that's why I bought it, and I'm kind of picky. It looks fantastic. There are no scratches on it. It was absolutely minty looking, and when I'm still looking on it, it's absolutely pristine. And I put it on my turntable, and I never heard it before, and it was like I'm in a sandstorm. Like every scratch, I'm in a sandstorm, and I was cleaning it a couple of times. It didn't improve anything. So yeah, like in a sandstorm. So kind of disappointed, because it's great. It's an original, and it sounds horrible.
Question into the round, George, Nick. You have a mint-looking copy of an original, and it sounds terrible. What happened to this record?
I can only think that the whoever played it had too much, like 10 grams of, force for years. And, you can't really see the grooves, necessarily like messed up from 10 grams of force, but it just digs a trench through the, the groove. And I mean, that's what I assume it is, because I've had that happen before.
I think also sometimes what happens, I have a one that's the opposite too, where it looks horrible. It's got like a weird film on it. It almost looks sort of gray. And someone pointed out to me that if the temperature of the press is either too hot or too cold, the record can come out looking horrible, but still play fine, or it can look perfect and play poor because of the they heat and cool. And if they don't have it up to the right temperature, you can get records that look okay but don't play good because of the and impurities in the vinyl too can cause it.
Justin Peters said maybe recycled vinyl at that time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys must have had like records that when they recycled the vinyl, they just hello Roger, they just threw everything in, even the labels, so you get like chunks of label. I've seen in records,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that they even put the labels in it, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
But like I said, it looks absolutely minty. There's some pressing flaw, but that's all there is. Isn't one scratch on it. And like every track, I'm in a sandstorm. I can't play it. It's horrible.
So and we all know you cleaned it, right? So that is also
several times. Several times. And I also thought that maybe something was wrong with my cleaning machine, but I also checked that. It's actually the vinyl. Then I thought, okay, there might be dust on the needle, but that wasn't also the case. So it's a noisiest copy I have in my collection.
Maybe it's because you don't have the D-Gritter 2 yet. You need your Mark II.
I know that in this case.
I saw a review about the Gritter 2 from somebody who made a comparison between the spin cleaner and the Mark II, and he says in his conclusion that the Gritter is only moving the dust from one point to another. And I was like,
okay,
no,
this question is good when it comes to this topic. Hello, do you know what causes ticks and pops on records? First thing that comes to mind is a little dust.
Yeah.
Like that, right?
Exactly.
That's what's mainly. And of course, injuries on the record itself.
Static too. Static.
Static, exactly.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Hey, Jace. Can be a lot of things. Yeah, static and dust, I think, are the main causes, right? If you have a good looking record, of course, scratches.
Yeah. And it's, I think the thing that's so confusing especially when you're not used to it, is that it's minute little particles. One little micron particle will cause a loud pop in the speakers because you're amplifying it. So the tiniest little speck will make that click happen.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. As Nadine also has a new turntable, and I again got aware of how important good mechanics on your turntable are if you consider how many times every signal is amplified until it reaches your ear. So every mistake is amplified too by thousands. Maybe George knows it. How many thousand times? It's unbelievable.
Oh God.
And the important one is that very first, that preamp stage that's taking it from a microscopic level up to just the normal line level, and then the power section of your amp to get it to move the speakers. It's a huge amount of gain.
It's a huge amount.
It starts
from
as.
This little small needle.
Yeah, I mean, well, like a moving coil cartridge is like 0.2 millivolts. So, I mean, you do the math to get that up to, and I thought, it's kind of interesting that a cartridge is a mechanical thing, going through the record, mechanical, causing an electrical signal, and then your speakers, it's an electrical signal being made into mechanical again. And it, it's just, I like the whole system of everything. And it's one of the cool
Yeah, which leads us now to Nick Pantazi and his first take on the month of August.
Yes.
But maybe as you're here for the very first time, we know each other now for a couple of years now through the community. And what I've learned from you and about you is that you are a musician, you are into vinyl, but you're also heavily into gear, right? Into hi-fi equipment, and you are unbelievable. Unbelievable amount of stuff when it comes to cartridges, amplifiers, turntables. They are really into it, right?
Yeah. I'm obsessive about it. Yeah. yeah. And you know, I've built a bunch of phono preamps. You know, like when you build a phono preamp that you know, like no expense spared. You know, with and it comes out beautifully, and if you can play a moving magnet cartridge through it, and it sounds great. If you have a good step-up transformer ahead of that, so you can play a moving coil, you know, then the synergy's there, and if you get it going into your the preamp and the gain is matched correctly, and you know, I like all the little intricacies of it. You know, and you know, you just move, like you can change like a resistor value to change a tube, you know, like in the signal path, or you know, it's because my job is mostly repairing guitars, but I also work on tube gear. And the shop that I work at, we won't even take in solid state, only tube. So I've gotten to see some really amazing old vintage you know, like Macintoshes, like seeing the MC30s, like, you know, it's like open them up and see the care and the love that went into building those. I mean, it really is something special, you know. And then
would you say that
today,
nowadays we have less care and less love when it comes to the production of hi-fi gear?
No, I think certain companies care more, and I personally try to buy from companies that I can call and speak to the owner, CEO, and designer. You know, if possible. Like when I bought my main pair of speakers, I bought Tectons. And I called up Eric Alexander, the owner of Tecton, and spoke to him for about an hour. And instead of upselling me, he said, "No, you don't need that one." And he told me, "I think the one that's $1,000 less would be much better from what you've described." And you know, my phono preamp was built by a guy and his son in New York. You know, they build them, and there's a wait list, and you know, you got to wait for these things, you know. I think audio, you got to be patient because sometimes it takes a long time, as we all know.
Yeah, I think it's the reliability.
Okay, already
the hard part now.
Two questions for Nick already. What of technology?
I have the Pendragons, but I have upgraded the crossovers.
Okay. And Marcella from the Netherlands wants to know, Nick, do you have experience with electromagnetic cartridges? I know
not really. You mean do you mean like the micro acoustics? Is that what they were called? Because there was a company that I had a couple of their cartridges, and I didn't know the technology, but they had a special kind of sound that I really liked. Like, I think moving iron cartridges like Soundsmiths and Grado, you know, they have a special warmth to them that, you know, it's really special. And I actually, audio note. Well, no, I heard an ongaku once, and once you hear like an ongaku amplifier, it like ruins you. Nothing sounds as good as an ongaku. And this is like an amplifier that has like 20 watts per channel, but and like 5% total harmonic distortion, but it sounds so good. And I think people get too caught up in like specs. And I think George, you agree on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes when you want to answer a question or you want to improve something specific, then the specifications can get you in the ballpark. But yeah, sometimes if something sounds good, then you just stick with it. It doesn't matter if it specs to this or that. You like it and it works for you, and it's good. Right. So yeah, absolutely.
So Nick, back to the topic. August of month. What is the first thing you want to talk about when it comes to August? A record, an experience, and hi-fi gear?
There's a couple things. The Melancholy, and the Infinite Sadness, Smashing Pumpkins. This is a 4 LP set, and it comes with these 2 books, and these are not crappy books. They're put on very nice paper, but the important thing is the records sound absolutely they're amazing sounding. The dynamics, the clarity.
Are you talking about the reissue or what?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And George has a real deal UK first press on Hut, and that was 3 LPs, and he has this one, and he prefers this one. And I saw this one. It would always go for like $200, $300, $400, and I was like, no. And then suddenly someone popped up and I saw it for like $90 or something. I was like, no, that can't be right. I checked somewhere else. It was like $95. And then you check another place. It's like $98. It's like, okay, well, this is a thing. Maybe I should grab 2 or 3, but 1 is enough. And it really does sound spectacular. So if anyone's looking for Stunty.
Of course. No, this is an amazing record. I love that too. So you would recommend the reissue to me?
Yes, absolutely.
Not the original. Okay.
Yeah, especially because the original cost $1,000 these days.
Yeah.
Okay, that put aside, because I have heard really different things, George. Some swear and said the original is amazing, and some say, "Oh no, it's terrible."
I think the issue with the original one is that they tried to jam too much into 3 LPs. If you think about this one's spread across 4, and they also cut out 2 songs, because they not only did they jam the whole thing into a 3 LP on the original, they also added 2 additional songs that weren't on any of the other ones, like bonus for the vinyl for some reason, and it makes it even worse. So
the better bonus would have been the 4th record, right?
Well, yeah, and then the other thing too is that there's some longer cuts on this record, and there's also some really, really heavy music, and oftentimes they throw that heavy stuff as the last song on the side, so it's way on the inside groove, and it's really hard to track some of the really aggressive material when it's on the inside the LP. It's just the way that it was done. It's not like it's a bad pressing or anything like that. It's just too much in too small a space.
George, you're already on it. Your first take on August.
Okay, so the one that is sort of like you said. You said there's a grail. This is not really a grail, but it was something that I was looking for a long time, and for some reason, it's a UK original, but I got it from Japan.
Okay.
And it's this white vinyl white album. So this is the UK, and it's 1978. And I really had been looking for, this is minty, brand new almost. It's funny, the cover's clearly not as white as it once was, but
but the vinyl still is.
Exactly, and I expect the white album to look almost like the the tan album.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be the best pressing sound-wise of this record, from what I've heard, is the white vinyl from 1978.
But the thing is that I think the one that might beat it out a little bit is the German. I think it's a German white. I think same year, but it was a DMM one, and people are raving about that one as well. Now I got this, and it sounds great. Me and Nick did a little shootout, and I have like just a standard 82 UK pressing that came in the BC13 box, and it actually kind of sounded just a little bit better than this.
Wow. Okay. So,
but then again, it could just be happenstance, right? You never know. Some records come off and they sound great, and some don't. But there's nothing wrong with this at all. This is warmer, a little bit, a little bit more mellow on the top end, but the 1982 was just so acute in the top end and not overbearing. So, but this was one that I had to seek out, and really happy to have it for sure.
But you wouldn't say that this is the best ever sounding white album that you've heard, or would you say no, this is the one to get from your experience? If
this is the only one I had, I'd be happy with this, and I wouldn't need to go looking for others. But on the other side, I think that the standard right out of UK 82 stands up to it pretty well, at least in the ones that I have. So. Not the best one I've heard, but it's up there in the top 2 or 3 for sure.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. My turn, right?
Yes.
Wait, I start with my most exciting record this month. I got my balls.
Look at that.
Month.
Oh wow! You should make yourself feel like
yeah. Because what makes this one? This is not an easy to get record. No copies at Discogs for a long time, and then washed up. 300 euros first pressing, and that's very, very rare. And I talked, for example, with Stanti and Günther about it. Near mint. And Günther said, I have never seen a near mint. Get this. Also, Stantis pointed out, because the jacket, it's a silk screen jacket. It's very fragile to see it and get it in this condition. That's quite something. So I get into discussion with the seller, 100% ratings, all good. And I got them now. As described, near mint, but not a first press. So again, a huge Discogs fuck up. I'm so sick of it. I was so happy to have this copy finally, and then it's easy to identify because, and that even makes me angrier because you can see that with the first pressing, you have here we go. You have this here is a flourish like symbol, and it says 1 out of 200.
So there were only 200 pressed.
No silk screen. I'm so sick of it. I got it yesterday, and I'm still so angry. And I just realized when I said, wait.
Yeah, I'd be angry too.
And now I'm getting into the hustle with the seller. I hope he accepts it. Then shipping it back. I'm so.
I was such a hassle.
Maybe everybody makes mistakes, Nick. Everybody makes. So I'm careful with this, but it happens too often. And this is not a copy with 889 pressings.
Yeah,
2, 3, 4, and Totally annoying. Again, I'm so disappointed because you all know the feeling. Like George with the white vinyl Beatles. Imagine you get a yellow one.
Yeah.
You're disappointed. Yeah, that was my most exciting, but in the end, most disappointing experience in August.
No, I'm sorry to hear that was a disappointing experience.
Yeah, of course he charged me for the first pressing. Of course, yeah, sure.
Oh.
I got a little discount. He goes down 20 euros, but he took within Germany. He took 19 euros shipping.
What did you pay? Super Express fast?
No, it was
$1
just,
million and short shipping?
you know. But Nadine, I was really happy to have it and get it and say,
I totally understand this.
Take 19 euros shipping. Give it to me. Give it to me.
Yeah, I pick it up myself. I know that feeling. I thought this was a soul record. I have 3 versions of a soul record, and each was warped or totally scratched and sold as VG Plus. I love that. Discogs for life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. That was, but we have other stuff that is not disappointing. That is beautiful, and probably Nadine on her second take on August will show us something positive.
Well, I bought a record from Discogs because Stanti recommended this record, and I've heard I really liked it. It's a gospel record by Reverend James Moore live, and this was funny. This was in Germany, like 6 to 10 euros. There was this one copy available, and others sold it for 100. So 10 euros to or $10 to 100. So I bought it, and it was all said it's VG Plus vinyl and the sleeve. So the sleeve is totally okay. That's VG Plus for me. But then I got the record, and the first side was like mint, and the second one there were 2-3 deep scratches in it. And I read again because I don't get the issue with VG Plus. VG Plus is you can have scratches on it, but they're not audible.
Right.
If they are audible, it's not VG Plus. And you always have the discussion with people saying, I can live with scratches if they are not audible, then it's VG Plus.
Right.
Also written, I've read it again on the Discogs page. I read it everywhere else. It's the same standard being used if you use the gold mine. And so I had a discussion. I said, I don't make a fuss about like 10 euros. I got a discount of 2 euros. But it's like, please, when you do the grading, it's not about this case about the money. I'm fussing. I hate it you're looking forward for a record, and then you have click, and he sings, and you have click, and the next thing, click. So
I'm sorry. Did you say 2 euros?
Yeah, he gave me a discount of 2 euros, $2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but we're talking about a 6 euro record, Nick.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That I wasn't. I said I don't make a fuss about this. This can happen. We're all humans, but it's not
of course.
Plus. So, and this is like when I buy at Discogs, I have constantly these issues with the grading. And once again, why is Discogs not checking the ratings and saying, okay, we have here 10 ratings and 8 ratings are about that grading. So we kind of make a flag or anything that the seller is improving on that. Why is that not possible?
Exactly.
I'm sorry, but it annoys me to know, and it doesn't matter if it's a 100 record or $10 record. It annoys me. Yeah. But anyway, it's a nice 1988 record.
But let's keep in mind, George got also a record now from Discogs, the Beatles white vinyl, and you got it from Japan, right, George?
Yeah. Yep.
Because Michael from REISSUES Records, he also talks a lot about Japanese dealers. And they seem to be very reliable in general. Probably also not all the time, but you made a good experience now with Discogs, right, George?
I've never got a bad record from a Japanese seller. They're always immaculate. They're always even better than they say they are. They take good care of the records over there in Japan, and you know, but there's a couple that I go to specifically, and I just know that it's always going to be good. And you know, yeah, I but then again, you have the sort of the complaints of Japanese pressings, but this one is a UK pressing that got exported to Japan and then came back. So, but in Japan, you know, the people say that they carve bass out a little bit, and I've noticed that a little bit, but I still am a big fan of Japanese pressings too, you know, and Japanese dealers.
Yeah, they're so quiet.
Yeah, absolutely.
High quality vinyl.
Nick,
Yes.
once more, your turn.
Okay. You know what? Can I go on a quick little tangent here, and bring up your video that you did on the dark side of the moon? Now this is going someplace. I also, you know, we talked about this, that my favorite was the first Dark Side of the Moon pressing, even over the UK. And
so the German, excuse me, you didn't say the country. What is your favorite? Which country?
The German first
German
press. Yeah, the one that you that you showed. And you know, it's also the case for something like this, like Talking Book. I mean, when you go to Discogs and look up Talking Book, this is the second record that pops up, is this particular pressing, this record. And this, to me, it's that mid-range punch that I love.
Yeah.
And you know, it really, you know, when I see a record that says Jima, I'm usually I'm excited to grab it. And you know what, the same thing goes for even, you know, a band that I've collected their entire discography, and there aren't many bands. This is Helmets, Betty, and this is
wonderful jacket, by the way.
What's that?
A wonderful jacket.
Oh yeah. It's it's beautiful. This is actually the only 12-inch LP that you can get of Betty until somewhat recently, when a label called Let Them Eat Vinyl pressed some of the Helmet catalog. And I'm not sure if it came from a CD or whatever, but they did a really good job with the packaging, but it didn't sound quite right. And this is another, you know, can't really see it, but anyway, it's another Jima German pressing. And you know, I can't talk highly enough about, you know, all the German pressings I have. Sound phenomenal.
Yeah,
and
let's stick a bit to this, because that was also my impression, and I would love to have Nadine's and George's input here too. The mid-range for me was what killed it, where I say wow, which gave this tonality, this darker, more prominent approach to the Dark Side of the Moon. It was all about the mid-range. How and why is that possible, George? Maybe your take first.
Well, again, to try to not be over technical, but probably when you look at where we focus as human beings on the frequency spectrum, it's right down the middle. The extreme ends of the spectrum, all that high end, that airy, open airiness, is usually there's nothing really happening up there of let's just say a fundamental nature, meaning that there's no notes being played up at 10K. But what there is up there is those upper order harmonics that give us the sense of space and openness and the clarity. But when you're hearing a good kick drum, the hit of it, the onset of a snare drum or a guitar, chord, vocals, all of that stuff is taking place in the middle of the spectrum. And that's where usually you have the most sort of, let's just say, the log jam occurs, where you're trying to fit all these different, instruments and voices and everything that all sort of are taking up the same kind of area. When you get a good, well orchestrated, arranged mix that occupies space, and the way that the musicians stay out of each other's way, and a record like Dark Side of the Moon, to me, is like a slow paced record. It builds up slowly. It never really gets to that kind of, so there's a lot of space. And so the way to take up the listener's attention is to really focus in the mid range, all of the individual notes that happen, and they're popping in and out. There's obviously there's an art to it, but it's a complicated art, and it's difficult to do. And that's why a record like that, to this day, we still talk about. And when you're focusing and you get a chance to listen to two really good copies like that, that's when you can see that. I think that, either one of those records, if you would have played them at any given time, people would go, wow, it sounds great.
Of course.
When you have the chance to hear them side by side, you go, oh, okay, they focused more on the mid range on this one, and I can really hear the interplay between the instruments and all of the things that are happening in the song. That's the way I look at it, at least when I'm trying to put, a record together.
Yeah, Nadine was with me when for the very, very first comparison on my turntable had, let's say, 5 hours of playtime or 10 hours of playtime. But you remember what you experienced when we did this?
We played Money. Wasn't that the song we played?
It was Money, exactly.
And we first heard the UK version, the UK first pressing, and then we heard the German first pressing. And it was shockingly how good the German pressing, at least to my ears, sounded next to the original UK pressing. For me, it was a difference between night and day. For my ears.
Yeah, Nadine was very strict about it. I was way more careful in my video. Yeah, because of course, we are talking, and that's such a beautiful experience that those things happen. We are talking a record in this condition way over 2K, and the German, for a very, very, very good one, 200, 250, if I remember correctly. So there is ammunition to it when you say, no, the German is way, way better.
Yeah, I think Thomas and me, we sat in the sweet spot, and we were both looking at each other when we've heard the German one, and we're totally impressed by it.
It's and on any given day, somebody could get another German first press, compare it to another UK, and it could be the other way around, depending upon the record's life, what it's experienced in its life, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
But I also think it's very important that you compare two records in the same condition, and not a BG minus German against a near mint British or vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would not make sense.
Yeah.
Another question for Nick from Joe. What's your take on other Stevie Wonder records? Best to get the German?
In my opinion, I have a couple German Stevie Wonder records, but this, I got actually before the lockdown happened, I had bought a very large collection, and the guy I had bought it from had a lot of records from Germany and the UK. So and actually a lot of different European countries, but mostly Germany and the UK and the US. So that's when I was comparing these German pressings to the US ones that I already had, and it was just like, what? Like I almost felt gypped. Like some of the pressings that I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some wonderful sounding US ones, but this one has a kind of snap to it, that really, it sticks out. And I hate to use this word, but it's more musical sounding to me. But I also think it has to do, it can be system dependent too. So if your system happens to have a ton of bass or just naturally a lot of low end to it, or highs, or whatever gear you're using, that can change things. And I think we look for a pretty straight signal path. But I have nothing against EQ. If something doesn't sound quite right, I have nothing wrong with bump it, but not just turning it all, just EQing the hell out of it to make it sound the way I want it to. There's a limit. And I try to keep my EQ is usually just flat, so it's just it's flat, and I don't know how other people see this, but that Dark Side of the Moon video that you did, it just made me, it was good, because it was like, yeah, nice. So someone else heard it,
Yeah.
and also people don't need like a $100,000 system to tell the difference between pressings, and I think most people know that.
Yeah. George.
Yes.
You got something else than the Beatles, or you want to add something?
No. I have another group from the past that I just recently purchased a record. But I was going to just say I have a German first pressing of Hotel California by the Eagles. That's way better than my original American pressing by far. It's just
okay.
It sounds much clearer. It's got a like a what you call like a black background, right? Where when you hear something fade out and it just goes into just nothing, and you're not paying attention to the record surface anymore, and it's just very clean and clear and sitting in front of that background noise. Whereas the American pressing seems to kind of it sounds a little less dimensional. Let's just say that it's just it's more concise in the top end too. So here's the dreaded Mobile Fidelity one step. Speaking of the Eagles, this is my favorite Eagles record. I have a couple of copies of the first pressing of this record, and me and Nick actually, again, I got it as a shootout idea to listen to see what's going on there, because my first experience with the one step was the Carole King one, and I didn't.
Not such a good experience.
I was not impressed by that at all. So I gave it one more shot, and I heard people saying decent things about the Eagles one, and we listened to this, and it was extraordinarily good compared to the original.
Yeah, I have the first two Eagles of them.
Yeah,
and I really do like them, but I don't have an original. So this is also something I have to add. I just can talk about the one steps, and for me, those one steps sounds really, really good.
This is a record that was kind of played around my house when I was a kid. My parents were big fans, and this was their favorite record at the time. So it has like a sentimental value. So I wanted to have a really good, copy to just be able to listen to the record, intently. And it was really, really night and day compared to the original. Me and Nick sat there and listened to it, and it was impressively good. So
you also have an original of this Eagles record?
Yeah, I have the originals of all of the Eagles catalog.
Did you compare it yet until now, or haven't you yet?
Well, we compared it. Yeah, we sat there. We listened to the first press American Asylum, right, and then played this, and it was an eye opener. The soundstage, the depth, the dimension, everything is. You could hear around everything much better than you could on the original. It was almost kind of no contest at all. There wasn't.
Yeah, it really wasn't
that way. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not like I have a horrible beat up copy of the OG. It's in good condition. So
yeah.
Again, so now I'm batting 50-50 with the MoFi one steps. So maybe I'll get a tiebreaker down the road.
Maybe you try the Hotel California too.
Yeah. And just to answer, if I could just answer the question, somebody had asked what I think about the new mixes of the Giles Martin remixes of the Beatles. And I just, it's not like I think it's bad.
I was about to put that up. This is Barry.
Yeah. I don't think that they're bad. I mean, I think he's a fine engineer and mixer and all that kind of stuff. And he's got the pedigree, right? He's got it in the blood, but I prefer the 60s to stay in the 60s. And when I listen to a Beatle record, I don't have a problem with the originals. I don't know why they needed to remix any of them. I like them the way that they were, even with the wacky panning. It doesn't bother me.
There might be a reason or two why they do it, George.
Yeah, I think the reason, and what's funny is that even though I hate them, I bought every one of them.
Me too.
That's
me
why.
Too, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the only person here on the panel who probably resisted is Nadine, right? Did you buy those Beatles remixes?
I don't even have a Beatles record, to be honest with you.
What?
I'm Team Elvis. I can't be Team Beatles. Yeah.
Oh, I should have put some Beatles records in with the package I sent you.
Go ahead. You can push me up. But I'm a huge Elvis fan, and I never really got into Beatles. I like Twist and Shout, I like Yesterday, and all of this. But to me, it's not. They made good music, but it's not like, oh my God, it's the Beatles, and I'm like, okay.
You know what? George and I compared the mono. This is interesting. The 2014 from the box set, which they also, sold separately, and the of Revolver. I'm sorry, Revolver mono. And I don't know how, if people are going to start yelling at the screen, but we listened to the new one that came with the the new 2022 mono versus the 2014 mono.
Yeah.
And when I heard the 2022 mono, it's like I felt like something seemed wrong with it. It was like it was cut so. It seemed like it was cut so hot that it was distorting like the whole time. And I've heard these rave reviews about it, and I can't see it. And I'll take the 2014. I mean, what did you think of that, Michael? Did you compare them?
I didn't compare it to the 2014. I compared it to the original.
Okay.
And I think I compared it to the version in the Beatles mono box. And it stood up against those two quite.
Right, that's the 2014.
Yeah, that's the 2014 is the one from the mono box. Yeah.
No, then I have to. I like hot cuts. I like when they're cut hot. And
me too, but this one was like cut so hot it sounded like a solid state amplifier, like being pushed a bit too far. Like
but Nick, and this is very interesting what you say now, and what I think now is that we all have to consider that we all listen on different equipment.
Absolutely. And
maybe your equipment points that out very, very well, or very, very, or in this case,
or poorly. Yeah.
Or poor, yeah. Those things happen. And we always, that's what if I don't forget, I always say, this is my opinion, what I hear on my hi-fi equipment. It might be totally different on your system, or when it comes to your taste, right?
Yeah. I mean, this all comes down to our opinions and our systems and how we've set them up,
Yeah. And what we expect and what we like. It's
right. Yeah.
It's a melange.
Right, of course, but it's always an interesting conversation.
Always for hours.
We could go on for
until the end of September now, and go until so now September is over. Let's talk about September.
Yeah.
So then
George.
Yeah,
delivery service. So George is happy with his Eagles. That's cool, because this is also quite not a very cheap record, right? The ones.
No, and I was slightly fearful after the Carole King one.
Of course, I can imagine. The Carole King was your first one step, though.
It was the only one that I got it, and I tried it out, and I said, that's it for me. I don't think that there's any value to this at all. And
I can imagine, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I got a $5 OG that I bought, where you have to get on the floor down there and go digging through the bottom, where they don't even have it up on the top shelf. They have it down on the bottom when you're going through. And I found one in there, and it was,
George, this was also my first one step, the Carole King one, because I love this album. I just love it from the beginning to the end. Yeah. So, and I read that the sound of the album is intended to sound like this because she wanted to have it as a kind of demo session, how she creates the sounds, and that's why it sounds the way it is. But I didn't have the original one, but I recently heard the original one, and I said, why the hell did I spend so much money? Because I thought I get a major improvement, and then I heard the original, and I was like, shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could have saved $145 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, it sounds okay, all right. I'm happy with that. And when I heard the original, like you said, also here in Germany, it's a 5 to 10 euro record. It's not expensive because it's sold like a million times. And you're like, oh, this was bitter, like Thriller. For me, it was a very bitter pill.
Yep.
Another question for George from Jose. Are you getting into the Jalino Vinyl Me Please Country Album of the Month?
No, Jose, I will not be partaking in that record. Should I?
Okay. Maybe I thought this is something between you and Jose.
I
know the question, but okay, Jose, what's the matter with you?
I don't get it either.
Okay, something positive. I got one beautiful reissue. I got the Electric Recording Company, Otto Klemperer Philharmonic Orchestra recorded Bach Brandenburg concertos. This is a 2-record set, sadly not a twofer. but wow, wonderful. I mean those Bach recordings, those compositions, and maybe George remembers when I listened to those. That was when I wrote to you, George, on Instagram. We should do a video, George. From Bach to Kraftwerk and back.
Yep.
That'd be good. That'd be interesting.
Well, Yeah.
And getting these as originals, I think especially the first one is very, very difficult to find from the Klemperer one. I have the first pressing German, which is a gatefold. It sounds amazing. And the thing with these recordings as well is that I think back at that time he was at Columbia, 61, 62 when he did that. And Klemperer was at that time one considered as one of the greatest conductors ever. And they made sure that they had the best equipment available at that time to please his requirements for the sound. So getting these recordings now done with ECR, I think they must have sound tremendously great because these recordings are stunning.
Help me out here, Nadine. You know this better than me. Is this the recording he did as a young man?
No, the young
was the other
version
one. Oh, okay.
Exactly. The first one was, I think, done in Paris in 1946, which was just available as a 78. And he was very young, and it was very more dynamic at that time. But finding the tapes was, I think, impossible. It was only on 78, and they did a reissue of this concert in 1989 on CD, and the sound was horrible. So when they announced it, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm finally getting them!" But it's not a bad thing. He redid the things in the beginning of the 60s. It's it's very well been done, but this is something of the edge of the earlier recordings because he gotten older and so that might have been the reason. But sound-wise, this is a tremendously great recording. Yeah. I'm a little jealous.
I really love it. And you really get 2 long playing records here.
Yeah. But they announced the Jill Scott Heron Pieces of a Man.
Exactly.
I was, that's a great one. I like the direction they're going to. This will be, I think, a great one.
They got more. They get into more genres, and I love that too. And now they announced the Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Let's see what happens. Where it goes with them. Nadine.
Yes, I'm doing a soul stream once a month. At least we're trying to. And Miss Lady Soul is always very inspiring with getting me into new R&B music. And she pointed out a group, En Vogue, which I know from my childhood.
Yeah.
Getting, this is 1989, I think. No, 1990. And getting records from 1990 is not so easy anymore. So I was looking for an original pressing of this, and it wasn't cheap, and I was in a record store and found this OG for $10. And yeah, En Vogue. I'm totally in my 90s feelings now. If I find a return of the Meg or some other stuff from back that time, I'll be very happy. Hold On. Yes, Hold On was a big hit, and it's included in here. It's the first one in the original lineup. $10. Very, very great album.
Yeah, they weren't making a lot of records then. They were not making a lot of records in 1990.
Exactly. So finding one, it's and also in good condition because they were party records.
Yeah.
Difficult to find. So I was very happy to find this for just $10.
Where did you get it?
In a record store in Cologne.
Cologne. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice find. And it's on a heavy rotation? Are you into heavy rotation?
Yes, the thing is the day has 2 less hours for all the records I want to play because I'm kind of playing my whole collection like new, like again. And so, yeah. It was always like you're getting so into the music and then like, oh shit, I need to change the sides. Oh. That's the advantage, always standing up, changing that. And now I can use a weight on my turntable. And this is so heavy that you have to be careful. Hopefully I didn't drink enough, so I'm really able to not
dropping the weight.
It's horrible. It's a very heavy weight.
Nadine, can I ask what kind of turntable you got?
I bought an Einstein.
Oh, whoa. Okay, like so the one that Michael used to have, or the
Michael used to have. I bought that from Volker Burmeier. The thing was, like I said in the beginning, I have this turntable which was 44 years old, and I always went to a guy and said, we need to make adjustments, we need to make improvements.
Yeah.
And the guy once said, listen, Nadine, it's 44 years old, it has its limitations, we are at its limits. And when I needed spare parts, I needed to check on eBay or Facebook Marketplace and all. And he said, Nadine, you're so much into this. Buy something you're going to be happy with, but we are done with this. It's done. So Volker Bohlmeier in Germany is a legend, and so Michael was so nice that we could make an appointment up there and to give me an idea of what I was looking for, and we were checking out turntables, and then he used a turntable, Michael's model, and I was listening to it, and I was like, holy shit! Now I want this turntable.
Yeah, it's dangerous when you listen to other people's stuff sometimes.
Cool. I brought records which I know in and out, and the difference was so huge. And I said, holy shit. Now it's like when you buy a car and I said, oh, I don't have the lower model. I only have the higher model up here. And you drive the higher model and getting to the lower model. And you say, oh, no, I don't want this now. So, so that was the thing.
Yeah, I've looked at the Einstein site many times, and I would love to pick Volker's. Sorry for the pronunciation. I'm sure it was horrible.
No,
I would love to pick his brain and talk to him about how he goes about designing his circuits and and the tubes he uses, because I see, in just going quick left here, the you have monoblocks, on each side, and they look like the tubes in them are 6E33.6s, and those are pretty high high wattage. I mean, they can put out a lot of wattage. And I'd like to know how, if he has them in a push-pull configuration, if they're in series, or I would just it would be great to talk to him.
I promise you something, Nick, because I will do a stream with Volker, and you will join us.
Oh yes, yeah, that would be awesome.
No problem.
Yeah.
When he has the time and the means to do it, you will be part of it.
I think thank you. I really do.
It might be getting a bit deep. Hey, but come on.
Hey,
let's get deep.
Let's go. Yeah. I'd love to nerd out with him. Yeah. That would be great, man.
Okay, but again, Nick, it's your turn now.
Oh, okay. You know what? So George was kind enough to send me 3 records, and all right. So my childhood, what?
I was just trying to get rid of some stuff I didn't want anymore.
Yeah, it was just. So Patrick had an auction, and I saw this come up, and my copy is just crap. And this is Def Leppard's first record. And, when I was in 4th or 5th grade, this was, my music, and
air guitar and all the stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Through tennis rackets for, but, so he sent me this beautiful first US press, still in the shrink with the hype sticker, and it's just beautiful, and I can't thank him enough. And I also needed a clean copy of Electric Ladyland, and he was kind enough to send this to me. And this was done at QRP, and this sounds fantastic. And this is the numbered edition. It's number 40. I think you can see on there.
Oh, I sent you the numbered. I sent you the numbered. Oh man, I didn't know I sent you the numbered one.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put it on Discogs and go out and. But the coup de grace, the best thing that George sent me is George's record that he did with Prairie Prince, and it's. Knowing George and getting to know him, and you know, we've been doing these live streams for 6 months, and we talk pretty much, you know, every other day, if not every day, and you know, just to nerd out to someone. And he sent me a copy of his record, and this is him. He and
pressing, isn't it? Because with the date on it and the white jacket, is this a test pressing or what?
Well, they're all we made a bunch of white label promos and sold them on the Todd Rundgren tour when Prairie was touring with them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled to have this, you know.
I have to do more streams with George. Maybe I get a package too. We all have, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
shipping to Germany is a nightmare, George. I was kidding.
I'm always game. I'm always game to ship to
Oh Germany. Yeah, ship to anywhere.
George.
Yes. Okay. So I officially purchased this at the end of July, but it's the record that I listened to the most during August. Listened to it almost daily. It's relatively new. It's a Japanese punk band, kind of punk, kind of edgy, hard, fast pop, almost metal speed, but it's more punk rock. And it's called Audiophile Beaver, and the name of the record is called Super Champion. And the reason that I became aware of them was that all these musicians that I'm subscribed to on Instagram were just raving about this band and saying how great they were. And so I looked at a video and I was blown away by how good they play. Just a 4-piece, 1 guitar, 1 bass, drummer, and a singer. Most of the lyrics are in Japanese, so I can't understand most of the time what they're saying, but I did read some translations, and let's just say we don't want to repeat some of the lyrics because they can get pretty agitated music. So but it's really high energy, little quick 2-minute songs, real fast, real accurate playing. They're really, really good players.
Yeah.
And
so your record of the month in a way? Your record
of the month?
Yeah.
Maybe my record of the year so far.
Okay. Wow.
I really am enjoying this. It's very, very interesting music to me. But it does get a little crazy sometimes.
So nothing you listen to at the morning coffee, or are you hardcore and go for it from the wake up call?
If you don't need coffee if you put this record on.
Oh, okay, good point.
This record is coffee, right? This is really high energy.
Yeah, not even caffeine. I think there's methamphetamine in that.
Correct.
In that record.
It might be illegal.
Yeah.
To play that record in the morning.
So
but
for me, totally new. Haven't heard about it. Nadine, have you heard about this record?
No, totally new.
Yeah, if you get a chance, just look them up on YouTube, and you'll just, when you see them playing live, it really hits home how good they are as players. It's fantastic. So
nice. Thank you for this. Yeah, my take. Let's get into. I only take one record because this is a very special record. I recently discovered this. Oh, look, it's blue and blue. Damn it, how stylish. It's Riechmann. It's Riechmann Wunderbar. Ever heard of Riechmann Wunderbar?
I have not.
No.
He only put out this one record, and it was he was in the Reach and here in Düsseldorf with Kraftwerk and the guys. And this is an amazing record. Everybody loved it. Everybody said, oh, this will be something this guy will make its way. And then he get out for a beer and got stabbed, dead. And so this is very forgotten, but of course, there are people who knows this record, don't get me wrong. But Günther from Minty Vinyl made me aware of this record. I listened to it. I said, wow, this is amazing. It's 78, if I'm not mistaken. And I made a little video. I mentioned it in a video. I put out an example of it when I do this video where I play a song on the turntable. Wonderful electronica, krautrock, ambient record. Not so expensive. If you are into this kind of music, wonderful. My discovery of the month is this record. And of course, for me, again, a little musician out of Düsseldorf, late 70s, fantastic.
Did he get to like enjoy any of? He was just the record came out and the next day dead.
I don't know if it was the next day, but very no.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's a very sad story. A very sad story.
Yeah, that really is. You know what, Michael, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
How are you enjoying your new turntable compared to your old turntable? What are the main differences that you're hearing? And have you had do you have two phono preamps, one for mono and one for stereo, or do you have like a mono switch?
I get into that.
Okay.
The first impression with the turntable. Yeah, it's a bit like Nadine's experience. It's this wonderful phase where you listen to so many records anew in a way, because there are differences. The main differences are it's so black sometimes, you know, it has this blackness. It has more of everything in a way, you know. Even the volume is lower now because your room only can bear that sound.
That's great.
Yeah, and the dynamics. But for me, the most significant thing is it's when there is nothing, and George said that about the Dark Side of the Moon. It's so black sometimes when there is nothing, and then the music comes and it's so pure and it gets you. Yeah. The experience when it comes to the depth and the soundstage, the room, the punch, the attack. Wow. It's like Christmas and Easter at one day sometimes. And you know, especially when you get into records you really know very, very well, then you say, oh, okay. Yeah. I didn't realize that. Of course, but we're talking always nuances here, and I think to really figure out the differences, you need to have a little experience, you know. If you drag someone into your home and said, sit down and listen, oh, isn't it amazing? He would say, no.
Be careful.
It's a beautiful experience. Yeah, now I have the tone arm. I don't have the mono cartridge yet, and I just have to switch cables, because otherwise there is a version of his phono amp where you have two separate, where everything is 2 times. But hey, come on, I just switch the cables, and that's it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that what the mono cartridge with mono records, you know, it's that's gonna it really is something special when you have a good cartridge.
I can't wait for this, Nick. I can't wait to get my mono. This will be our September. Will be a topic for the
September. Okay, and you know what?
Probably I'll get it next week, and that will be the mono experience. I can't wait. I can't wait for it. Yeah. And, you know, Dave, who is one of the dealers in the OBC, he's a very experienced classical dealer, and he always says, Michael, a mono setup for a mono record really opens it up. It really makes a difference. I can't wait for this to hear, to listen to.
Yeah.
You have a mono setup, Nick?
But I have 2 turntables that
that's the real way to go. Wow.
Well, I mean,
wow.
I have, you know, my main turntable, and it's my main turntable, and then I have a secondary main turntable, and then my mono turntable it's actually a vintage Sansui, because it has a kind of warmth to it. You know, it's one of those wooden framed ones, and it's all mechanical. You know, it's so, you know, like Nadine was talking about, finding parts for it is, you know, not easy, but, you know, luckily it works well. But then again, I have a removable head shell on my turntable, so I can just, you know, pop it in, and, you know, 5-minute, you know, set it up, and I'm ready to go. And you know, the record that really shocked me when I heard like a real mono record with a real, you know, sound, and the Abbey Road of Disraeli Gears.
Yes,
I think this is like the definitive version to me. They got it so right with this one.
Okay.
And, you know, and then they, you know, come out with like that Sticky Fingers, which was like, what was that? It took me, like, I dropped the needle, and it took me like 5 seconds. And wait a minute, what is wrong here? And I'm checking stuff, and it's like, no, what? And really they let this out.
The Rolling Stones are very strange, to say the least.
Yeah.
Please let me get back to the mono, because I want to hear George's take on mono equipment. Are you into mono equipment, and where do you see advantages?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I have a second turntable as well that I will put a mono cart on. I think, of course, I'm usually too lazy. I got a mono button on my amp. But you know, the thing that sometimes can be an issue when, even if you have a mono cartridge, is that you still have 2 discrete signal paths playing back simultaneous information, and any differences between those paths can cause, you know, if you have a stereo setup, right? Because I think ultimately at the end of the day, you want to go mono cart into a single channeled amp with a single channel power amp and a speaker. I don't know about anybody here, but I'm not willing to go that far with it.
No,
you know.
No.
But I mean, it obviously it would be the best possible way to hear it. On the other hand, you know, if you have a high enough quality cart, it usually plays back pretty well. I hit the mono button on my Marantz, and that's good enough for me. I do have a second turntable in the other room though, and I do have a mono cart for it. I just kind of, sometimes it's just easier to just push the button, and I'm okay with it. Sometimes I forget to push the button even, you know.
Yeah.
It's still okay, right?
Or sometimes I push the button, I forget to unpush it, and then I play a stereo record, and I go, what the hell's going on here?
But there are what I've heard is that some say, you know how I listen to mono? I sit in front of one box. Yeah. And listen, this way I listen to mono. And I somehow, at least not for now, I don't agree, because when I listen to mono, I haven't listened to my mono cartridge, but it can be that different. You have a sound stage, you have left and right and center with mono. and 2 boxes, right? Just different. They are more in your face, but it's not that everything is at one point.
Michael, the ERC we've listened to from the Doors, was that mono?
Mm-hmm.
That was fantastic. I've had the impression there was a soundstage. I totally get it. You have different layers. They are all combined together, but you have different layers in the music.
And you can get it with one single speaker. It's theoretically there should be no difference between the 2 speakers, and it should all just be the same thing. I think where the difference is that if you have 2 speakers hooked up to your what would normally be a stereo amplifier, you have more amplitude in the room. If you just had one channel, theoretically, if one speaker's playing a sound and the other speaker joins in and plays that same sound and they're both contributing, it should double the amplitude in the room. So by having that one channel and that one thing, that one speak, it's not going to be the same listening experience. You'd have to completely rethink the whole thing. So it wouldn't do, especially what really wouldn't be good is that if the other speaker is actually playing and you go sit over in front of one, because that one's still shooting it around the room and it's still getting to you. Now you got time delay problems. And that's, again, we got to cut the difference between what is, doable in our listening environment. I mean, if you think about it, I have a separate, here's my mono room, here's my stereo room. You'd almost have to have a separate, a separate listening room to get that far into it. But yeah, it's, there should not be any difference between the left and right speakers. If you have 2 speakers going, they should be doing the exact same thing. I know what you mean though by soundstage. There is a sound.
Might that be psychoacoustics, George? Because you have those 2 speakers, or is that possible?
Well, yeah, but you also have 2 things emitting sound. You could try as much as you want to be directly in the middle of them, but if you don't have a perfectly symmetrical room, like if you, for instance, you have records on one wall and something else on another wall, or a door or something, that's going to create a difference in the reflections that are coming to you from the left and right. And that's going to create a difference in left and right. It's all about time arrival differences coming to the ear. And when you have 2 things emitting the same sound, unless you're in a perfectly symmetrical, like a control room at a recording studio, if you're not in that kind of an environment, then you're going to have differences between the left and right just because of the reflections bouncing around in the room.
Of course, as we are really into it, we all have perfectly symmetric rooms.
Yeah.
Let's just say with the of course.
We'll go with that.
Leave it right there.
There you go.
Nadine, with your perfectly symmetrical room.
Wolfgang came here and adjusted everything. I had to move furniture. For the adjustment. He was sitting on my couch and he was like, "No, Nadine, this speaker, not this, not the other. No, it was too much. Other direction. No, you need to put something else. No." So then I was sweating as hell, and then now we make the right side, and I thought, oh, holy cow. And then no, a little to the left, to the right, till we had the perfect setup for this. Now I have the exact sweet spot, and it sounds amazing. Makes a huge difference how you put your speakers up and everything like this. This is a whole, you can make, I don't know.
Room treatment, speaker setup.
Oh, cables.
No, forget the cables. Room treatment, speaker setup costs you nothing, but has a huge effect.
Yeah.
Huge, if you do it right. Okay, I suggest one more term.
Yeah.
Nadine, you open?
Yes. That's a difficult decision. I got a Kraftwerk and I got a soul record. I go for the soul
Kraftwerk.
Okay. Let's make a compromise. I got a Kraftwerk.
Yes, man.
Which is a French version from 1978. And it's on red vinyl. It sounds amazing. And I've talked to Günther, and he said finding this red vinyl in near mint condition is very difficult to find.
It is.
So he said, you done well. Like it's new. It's like never been played. It's actually never been played. I played it, and there's the English version of Das Model.
Not only there's also the English version of We Are the Robots.
Yes, I needed to get used to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this, and I also got, and I'm falling more and more in love with this crystal clear inner sleeves. Honestly, I think they are great.
Me too, by the way. Me too.
I don't want to use the other ones. I only want to use them. I just love them. So I need to reorder a new package anyway. So I got the Soul record, James Carr.
No. Go back to the Kraftwerk. Go back to no, not that far. Not that far. Did you enjoy this wonderful band from Düsseldorf?
I have to admit, on the new turntable, it's good. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say now that I'm totally. For me, it's a kind of. I grew up with vocal house, so I'm used to fast beats, and this was the beginning. So you need to go back. There were the beats, but not so fast. And for me, it's like it's too slow.
Playing on 45.
Yeah. So, but it's a great record. I mean, look at the cover art and all of this. This is just fantastic what these guys did.
Yeah.
And
the
so,
whole city of Düsseldorf, when this record came out, please give them their #1 in the UK. Please. And later they really did. And that was like getting football champions when they did it. I remember they came to the checkout with their, I think it was the Model. I was like, yes, you did it. After, I don't know how many, I think 10, 12 years did it. So well.
Yeah. So this was great. So I bought the Soul record. I love the blah 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 inner sleeves. So I love them.
Go to the Soul record, please.
Yes, of course. Crystal clear inner sleeve. So I bought this one sealed. And when I wanted to buy it, the seller said, "Oh, you're a collector, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." So you buying this sealed? I said, "Yeah," and I'm opening it up and to play it. And then he said, "Then I'm not going to sell it to you." What? So we had it
again, like what happened to me.
What is with these people?
So that was a very interesting discussion we had. It's like, okay, so actually you set a price, and I'm willing to pay the price. So, and I'm getting it. I could make one of these wonderful bolts out of this record if I wanted to, because you sold it to me. So I can, I'm playing it. So he ended up selling it to me, but it was. Well, so then I got this record, and I was opening up the shrink, and then I found this hole up here. Can you see that hole?
Wait.
And I was like, okay, maybe this is just on the front.
No, it's not. Okay, it's not on her skin.
Also on the back.
Okay.
And it's a discount mark, and I was like, holy shit. Hopefully, it's not because in the position I would imagine that it might be on a playing part, but whoever did this made the hole in the label. So
he knew what he was doing. Yeah, here I can see it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so that was, I never had a discount mark like this, but James Carr.
But never used this hole on the turntable.
I was gonna say, put that hole on the spindle and see how the
It sounded weird, honestly. And I really had to open that hole a little more. It was too tight, but But anyway, that's a fantastic Soul record, and I kept it. Yeah, but I opened it up. And he knew I was
this, George or Nick, that you will buy a sealed copy, and the seller asked you, what will you do with it? And said, of course I open and play it. And he said, no, I don't sell it. Then I don't sell. I have experienced this too.
I've never had anybody tell me they wouldn't sell it to me, but I can tell you this: if I have a sealed record, it's getting opened immediately. I can't even wait to get that open. I love opening sealed records.
And some people say, "Oh, if you open a sealed one, you have then problems with reselling it because it's less worth." But I'm not a museum, so.
Right. Yeah, I never buy a record with the intention of selling it anyway. So I buy it because I want to listen to it. So Yeah, I'm open.
Yes, I hate buying sealed records as well, because after decades in trade, they are most likely being warped.
Yeah,
correct.
can be the case. Yeah,
correct. Mm-hmm.
Nick Pantazi.
Well, Nadine, so you're just going to take the records, the sealed ones from me, and you're just going to resell them now. I know it. It's not even a question.
When there's once in my collection a soul record, which I've been looking for years, and it's coming up, I will open it and play it. You know,
I just hope it's nice and flat. I put it, on a flat surface, and made sure that it was.
The main advantage I now have with my new turntable is the weight.
Oh yeah. Flattens it down. Yeah. And you know what? Like I have a weight that's, my weight is like, it really is almost like 2 pounds, and like without it on, it sounds good, but when I put it on there, the low end increases like exponentially. It's noticeable, and that, what is that, mass loading a turntable?
On the Einstein turntables, you have something else. There is this, what is the name, Schiefer of English, Nadine?
I don't know.
It's a stone, and it's slightly conic. You know what I mean? Slightly. And then you put the weight on it, and the record really got pressed flat on it.
Oh, the platter mat.
No, it's not a mat.
Okay.
The platter mat is out of stone. It's all
slate. Slate. Okay. Yeah. Slate. Okay. Yes. Okay.
And then the weight comes on it, and the record is really, really pressed and flat on the turntable.
Yeah.
This is really something important.
Yeah.
Something important. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it can save, instead of watching your record go,
you're coupling, it's the reason why, it's the benefit to having, people go 200 gram vinyl. What's the point? I used to hear people say, well, they cut the grooves deeper, so it gets a lot more music. And no.
No.
The groove work was cut when it was lacquer. So it doesn't matter what the weight of the record, but what the weight of the record does is it gives it a truer roll and a truer spin. And those low frequencies are stretched out farther, inside the groove, because the frequency takes time. The lower the frequency, the longer the waveform. So when you couple the record to the platter, you're essentially making like a 10-pound record. So if 200 grams rolls better than 120 grams, well, then 7 pounds rolls better than anything that a record has, right? So you're literally trying to make the record be the platter and the record become one. That's the whole point of clamping and weighting, supposedly,
let's get a bit. I love that comment from Analog City. 2 pounds, you better have a strong motor.
Yeah.
When it comes to a turntable, the weaker the motor, the better.
Yeah.
You have to have a very, very, it takes sometimes, but then you have Kugellager, Nadine.
Oh, holy cow, Michael.
Well, the platter itself, those heavy platters have a flywheel effect, right? So they're heavier on the outside, and once they get the momentum going, the motor's hardly working because the platter's helping the motor once it gets up to.
And you have to have a very weak motor, otherwise it really gets into conflict with the turntable.
It's ball bearing.
The ball bearing has to be very, very good, and then
mine is it's a direct drive, but I put a Delrin thrust plate on the bottom of the spindle, so it and when you spin it, it spins as long as like a sapphire, one would. And it's Delrin, and it can hold a little tiny reservoir of oil there to keep it nice and lubricated, because you don't want to dry, that's bad. But yeah, I've had no problem with this weight, and I've been using it for years. Yeah, and George even he uses a weight on that too.
Yeah, that's Delrin right there. That's the whole platter's made of Delrin. That's a Delrin platter, and with the outside is a lot heavier than the middle, so it's got the flywheel effect. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that turntable sounds good.
Sophisticated. Chapeau. I wish I want to do that. Damn, I can't.
Oh, Switch. Yeah, you got to have a turntable cam, Michael.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it.
I'll give you some. If you need a consult, I'll talk to you offline.
Yeah, please
rig that up.
Please. I love that just for doing this. I know we are here. That's great. That's great.
That is cool.
Okay, as we are on the last turn, I think now it's Nick's last turn.
Well, you know, I'm gonna go a little bit. Well, first of all, a record that I've been listening to a lot is this living with the blues, and some of the you know, you can see some of the artists on there. And this is just a really cool compilation that I had in my collection. And you know, when you like rediscover a record, and it's so cool to rediscover. And it's a Savoy record too. Beautiful. So, you know, it's just it's great to you know, to put on and relax, you know, and listen to some blues.
You rediscovered this one in August now, and have it for years in your shelves? Or?
Yeah. And it's so good. It's so cool when that happens. You know, it's like getting a new record almost. But
of course. How many records do you have, Nick, if I may ask?
27.
Yeah, I'm trying to think in terms of cubes. I have approximately 4 of those. You see the Kallax, that's 16 cubes. I have approximately three of those. So however many you know, there's approximately 50 or 60. You know, I'd say between 3,000 and 4,000.
So then I would say, if you don't know the exact number, you don't have your records uploaded to Discogs.
You know what? I have my main, like the best records of my collection, I have put into Discogs, and you know, I have a little over 1,000. But, you know, I'll grab a pile of like 10, and then you're looking at those matrix numbers, and you just start going blind out after a while, staring at matrix numbers and trying to line up, especially when there's like 5 or 1,000 different, you know, versions of that, you know, record. That's not easy, but a cool thing that happened earlier this week. My neighbor had a okay, so yeah, that's about 3,000. But I also have a bunch of crates, probably about 10 crates beside the Kallax. But anyway, my neighbor told me he had some speakers that he was looking to get rid of, and I went over and looked at them, and they were a pair of Klipsch Forte ones. And you know, when I bought my Tectons, I was either going to buy Tecton, you know, either the direct impacts or the Pendragons, which I ended up going with, or the Klipsch Fortes. So it's funny how, you know, the universe, you know, comes around every once in a while. And he threw in this awesome Carver amp, you know, up there that it almost has a tubey kind of sound to it. And Bob Carver was a master at making. I mean, George, you can speak on this a little bit. I think Bob Carver's like designs and his ability to make one amp sound like a solid state sound like a tube amp. And he's such a brilliant mind. But you know what? He wears a captain's hat, which come on.
Come on, let him wear his captain's hat. I think a captain's hat would be a perfect hat for George in a way. Nadine, what do you think? Do you see?
No.
George?
Maybe we should get him a big foam 10-gallon hat.
I would love to see him in uniform as well. I love men in uniform. You Americans have such great-looking uniforms.
For
I
sure.
always love that.
But no, let's hear George's take on the guy, because Nick said you can say something about the
No,
man.
I don't know as much as Nick is purporting. I know that there's a way to get a good, let's just say, solid state to sound like tubes, and I think usually it's cascading gain stages, and again, it's so in the weeds when you get into stuff like that.
Right.
But there's the ability to make solid state sound as good and warm as tubes, and to mimic the behavior of tubes. You treat certain components in the solid state realm as if they were tubes. You even send bias to certain components to actually, and again, see that it's too in the weeds to do that. But yes, I don't know as much about the person or the actual designs, but I understand the premise of it. And I know that's what they do. There's also a guitar amplifier company called Orange that's been able to do that recently with solid state amplification in a musical capacity, musical instrument capacity. It's the quest, right? It's the quest. But on the other side of it too, solid state's not bad. Tubes are tubes. Solid state can be just as good.
It all depends on the clever and intelligent design, right?
Exactly. It's understanding what it is that tubes do. That and that's the hard part, is because every tube is a unique thing. Every single glass bottle is a unique device. 10 of them come off the same assembly line, and they all have different ways of reacting to the voltage that you sent to them. And it's hard to get solid state to do it. So, hats off to anybody that's been good enough to do that. I'm a fan of solid state amplification, but tube preamplification.
Yeah, me too. That's what I tend to go for. I mean, George and I have the exact same 1970, mid-70s Marantz. It's like 20 watts per channel. But both of us have, pretty high sensitivity speakers, so that it's driven very easily, and we both run tube phono preamps into it. And it's a really nice, warm, lush sound. I don't like that, almost that sharp, like the hi-fi sound, where it may be impressive at first, but after you listen to that for 10-15 minutes, then you go, okay, and I think that's how they fool people. They say, listen to this system, and they play it for you for 10 minutes, and they say, oh, will I wrap it up for you? Sure. And so,
George, your take, last take.
I'm getting attacked by a giant rat.
Be careful.
Okay. All right. So obviously nobody wants to hear, I don't suppose, me or you talk about this, but we said we would show it. This is obviously a big part of August for me.
This would have been my last take too, because exactly.
But I'm just gonna quickly veer off so you can use that if you want. But I officially in August made a little purchase, and it's out for delivery right now, even though today's the 1st.
Okay.
Ordered 4 records. Yeah, 4 records from Acoustic Sounds. And just to make sure I have all of them right, because there's 4 of them that I ordered. Lightning Hopkins, Going Away. Okay, that's a stereo. Gene Ammons, Boss Tenor, stereo. Coltrane, Lush Life, mono.
Yeah.
And then the thing this is my insanity. When I hear people saying maybe it's this, it's bad, it's this, it's good, it's bad. I also ordered Pretzel Logic UHQR because I have to hear it for myself. And me and Nick have to sit down and find out what's going on here.
Yeah,
because
I can't wait for you to get it.
I can't imagine.
Can't wait for your take. And when you do it, I do it too.
Yeah, I've got the original.
I join you when you do it. If it's a reasonable time for me.
We'll
the 3 of us should. Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll make it happen. We'll find a midday, like this time or something like that to do it.
I will join you immediately.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
And we'll get together and we'll give you our take. You give us your take, and we'll tell you, because I can't imagine that it is. I just have to hear it for myself. So again, it was an expensive. Let's just see what happens. But I'm gonna have
your take. Wait for you put on 2 brilliant points. I spared also the Love Supreme for the last, because not to show this record again. We talked about it enough, but you did the video of the month. You did the VC video of the month.
Yes.
How you did it, that was so cool. So
brilliant.
So stand up. I loved it. And that also was the reason why. And again, my personal favorite in August of the videos or streams I did was also with you about the Love Supreme. I really had so much fun with you doing it. That was amazing too. And then you just, and I think it's really worth mentioning that all 50 Prestige series titles are in print now. And for me, this is really special, because when I got back into vinyl, those Prestige titles were among the first audiophile pressings I bought on Discogs.
Yeah.
Nothing went wrong, of course, but they have been so damn expensive at the times, especially here in Europe. 150, 180, 240, 220, 120.
Wow.
Times it was a nightmare. And now people that they are out now. I did so many videos about them at the very beginning of my channel. I always said, man, God, those lucky bastards who could buy them when they were out there for 40, 50 bucks. Oh my God. And now we back at it, and this is really quite something, right?
Yeah.
I am looking very forward to this evening. I've already got the record cleaner warmed up.
Okay.
Ready to go. And
they get delivered today, right?
They're out right now. It was supposed to be any time between the last hour and a half and the next 2 hours. So I got this little window, and I have checked about 15 times just waiting. And they're still out for delivery.
So see,
I'm awaiting also a big package from the United States.
Yeah.
Big package, and I can't wait.
Oh, from Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Records, including I'm warming up my degritter for a couple of weeks now, because I'm waiting for
my degritter.
Yeah, you got to get the water just right. So when you put that first record in there, it gets the same cleaning that the third record gets.
Exactly.
That has to be right.
I like that question from Record Spree. Good closer. How many records do you order this month?
You're meaning for September already?
August, which is supposed to be the calmest month in the year in a way, right? When it comes to buying records.
A couple.
Give us a number, Nadine. Give us a number.
I lost track a little. Also, usually this was all organized in alphabetical order. I had these kind of dividers with letters on it, so I know where everything is. Nice. It's a total mess. Everything is a total mess right now, and I lost track. But I think it was around 20 to 25 records.
Okay, Nick, you have.
You know what? Not that many. I've curbed, my buying. But I bought Morphine. They finally put out the 2 records that I've been waiting for them to put out for years. Like Swimming and The Night. And Light in the Attic has put them out, and Light in the Attic in the past, they've done excellent pressings. And I can't wait for that. And I'm also waiting for the 10th anniversary of Guar's Battle Maximus.
Okay.
So that's what I can't think. Oh, I guess the Pumpkins box, and the stuff George sent me, and George also sent me the really nice cartridge that I can't wait to
cartridge every now and then. Look at this.
Wow, like the color.
Yeah, it's this seems to be the sweet spot for the Nagoka cartridges, the MP200, and I've heard these, in my opinion, they can beat out some really, some moving coils that people put on pedestals. I think the Nagokas have more, air, great mid-range, good punch. And so I don't think it like records, you got to take a cartridge on a case-by-case basis, and as far as I'm concerned, whether it's moving magnet, moving iron, or moving coil. I mean, I have a moving coil on my deck right now, but I'm in the process of building another phono preamp, a tube phono preamp, and for this cartridge, and it'll be great.
I'm so impressed that you can do that by yourself, Nick. I'm like, I want to have it sounding good. Do whatever you need to do. I have no idea about adjustments, anything. I just do it. And
just do it and let me enjoy. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I like tinkering with stuff.
George bought more records than expected, or was it within the limits?
So box sets only count as one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
if you're a serious collector, they count as one. Sorry,
it's light. This was pretty light, so I'd say about 15. About 15. About 15. This was a pretty light month for me.
Yeah, August was very calm. That's true. I agree. On my side too, with OGs, I'd say 7, 25 to 30.
Originals.
Also, originals, reissues.
Yeah, that would be that's a normal month for me. Would be that. I'm at a point right at this point where I'm finding myself. I think I'm satisfied with where I'm with what I've got right now.
Yeah,
what
Don't
I mean.
Forget, you collect vinyl probably 3 decades longer than me.
Yeah. Literally since the 70s. So
you have a huge advantage.
Well, an advantage or a curse, depending upon how you look at it.
Or both.
Yeah.
Okay, almost 2 hours. My God, that flew by.
Oh wow, that did fly by. Well,
I think Nadine agrees with me when I say that you two are amazing. Really fun doing this stuff.
No, thank you. Thank you.
I really can recommend everybody to watch the things you do over at George Borden's channel. Quite entertaining, quite informative, and tons of knowledge. But I think by the latest after this stream, everybody has realized that. So,
thank
you, Michael,
for having us.
Thank you for having
Nadine.
me.
We love watching your show.
Thank you very much.
Love to watch your show. And Michael, same thing. We appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In roughly half an hour, you know what we have, right?
We have Stunty, right?
Exactly. We have.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Only 30 minutes.
I hope his back's better. Stunty, my back got worse.
Oh yeah. Damn, I'm sorry, George.
But I hope your back's better, Stunty.
Alcohol helps.
I told him alcohol and weed.
Well, yeah.
Good for records. It's also good for humans.
Well, it's noon now, so I guess we can open that.
Yes, now you can go. Of course.
I got to get first. I got to use the record cleaner. I can't drink and use the record cleaner at the same time. It's like driving a car.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much, Michael. It was a great time.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.